not putting out heat. So we had it up at Elders and they did quite a bit of work to it.
Okay, is it squared away now?
It's got a few tweaks to do yet, but we got, it's functioning still.
Okay. Any of the other trustees have any questions or comments? Not, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any last comments or questions on the consent agenda? Not Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks. Yes. Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yes. Bill Morris.
yes,
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is my report. I'm gonna start with the revenue review. Revenues are still holding in there. Remember, when you look at it compared to last year, take off the $76,000 of COVID money, and our revenues are still looking good. So fortunately for us, we're not facing the same issues revenue-wise a lot of towns are facing. The COVID status, our counts are still improving. The counts are obviously still going up, but the rate of increase is much less than what it was a couple months ago. We increased from 218 to 233 or through the bank window that we put in for the water payments. We're still trying to minimize face-to-face contact as much as reasonable. And we'll continue to do that until we get word from the state government that that is no longer necessary. Sewer grant status, we received word last week that the grant was approved for an amount of $20,000. We had several pieces of paperwork we had to complete and send back in, and Sarah's got those done, and the last one was sent in today. Thank you, Sarah, for jumping on that and getting that sent back in. The remaining balance is about, will probably be $20,000 to $25,000 that we will need to pay for the next phase of the study. We'll need to pay for some of that out of our regular budget. Some of it will probably come out of TIF funds, a quarter of it, that type of thing. So I think our next step with that is for Kathy and Sarah and I to work with Pat to see if the recommendation is to proceed with the bid for services to complete the study for the next phase of the grant. I don't know whether we're required to bid it or not. Pat, you might be able to help me out there.
yeah, you're not required, any professional services aren't required to be bid. So, you know, at your election, you could look to bidding for services needed to move forward with the grant, but you're not strictly required to by state law.
Okay, thank you. I'll work with Kathy and we'll figure out the best way to proceed. I'm sure we have at least 3 or 4 different companies that are interested in this contract. So one way or another, we'll make sure that all those companies are aware of what we're doing. The work itself cannot start until June, but we can go ahead with the preparation process now on our part. Next item on the agenda is a reminder, our next board meeting in April is on the 7th, a Wednesday, instead of Tuesday the 6th. Tuesday the 6th is election day, so just please be sure to get out and vote. And then we will have our meeting on Wednesday the 7th. I'd also like to set up dates for budget meetings in March. And we had our last budget meeting in February on a Thursday. I think Thursday the 11th might be a conflict for Allison.
I have conferences till 7. I mean, I could be here by 7:30.
Okay, so if we did that night, Sarah, would you be able to take notes and to pass them on for the first part of the meeting?
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to set them up to starting on Thursdays and set up tentative for March 11, 18, and 25, and see if we can get through the budget in March and then approve it at our April meeting. I was under the misunderstanding that we did have to have the budget completed by the end of April, but Pat notified me today that we do have a couple months past April to get the budget complete. So historically, we've always tried to get it done in April and sent into the county and filed and everything, so we'll continue to do that.
Which is nice just for our own purposes, starting May 1, everyone knows what they have, rather than waiting a couple months and not knowing
Right.
where anybody is.
It works
So
out a lot
if we
better
can do
if
it, it'd
we
be great.
continue to do that.
What time? 7?
7 o'clock, we will meet here in the garage so we can socially distance. And for those of you, I don't know if everybody's noticed, we do have a TV on each side now. So when we are displaying our Excel spreadsheets for the budget work, Joe won't have to sit there and crane his neck trying to see the screen behind him. So having the TV on each side of the room is gonna work out real well for us to do that. So we'll set up does anybody have problems with the 3 Thursdays in March at 11, 18, and 25, 7 o'clock?
The 25th might be the only one that's a problem for me. I'm not sure yet, but that's spring break with the kids, so I can't,
Okay.
I'll have to check on that
So
one.
we'll do the 11 and 18 for sure, and maybe we won't even need a third meeting, but we'll start with those two, see how far we get. And on the 11th, Jeff Waller, I'd like you to have all your stuff ready. And Denny, we'll put you and Dale down for the 18th. So we'll cover streets and policing on those days. And on the 11th, we'll do all the revenue, and we'll do the water and parks. Okay? Next item on the agenda is the status of the 5-year plan. We are still working on the sidewalk, and Danny is still checking on possibilities on how we want to route the sidewalk for going out to the Dollar General. Other than that, we're not actively working on other parts of the 5-year plan on a daily or weekly basis. We will be working on a list of sidewalks to repair or replace, that type of thing. But we're not actively working on that at this particular moment.
So isn't the sewer also, the initial sewer stuff part of the 5-year plan?
Yes, the sewer study is part of the 5-year plan, and we are obviously working on that. So thank you for reminding me of that. So we are doing that part of the 5-year plan. Okay, the next item I have is the land swap with Steve and Judy Lampert. I have talked to our attorney today on that issue, and there were some delays, but the two attorneys met and talked today, and we think everything is final again, and so hopefully the paperwork is being sent to Steve and Judy, and they will be able to sign it, and sometime this year, we'll close this item up. Okay, the last month I talked a little bit about the McLean County hazardous mitigation planning, and I was working on information for that. Because of Dale and Mark's background, they are taking over our village response for that. And so I'll stay abreast of what's going on, but I won't personally be involved with that anymore. So I do want to thank Dale and Mark for taking that over. So,
That's the, natural catastrophe thing, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's natural disaster planning, and all municipalities, townships, McLean County have to fill out this information, and it's quite expansive. I mean, they ask for a lot of different things. And so Dale and I have been working on it, but to make things simple, we are coordinating with the township and the fire protection district so that we're gonna submit it all together at one time instead of us working piecemeal. So Dale and I are doing the majority of the work with the information from township and fire protection. You get anything to add to that, Dale?
Nope, that's pretty much it. They agreed to work with us.
I just wanted to confirm because hazardous mitigation makes me think of chemicals strictly.
No, it's just this natural disaster
could include chemicals,
It
but
would.
it's
It's just the
multiple.
way it's described, those words.
And Kathy, this would not, I don't think, get into a chemical spill, if that's what you're concerned about.
Well, they just said it would.
You think it would?
Any mitigation at all that happens in the county.
Okay.
Now, natural too, but it included all.
I thought it was just natural, so, okay.
No,
And
it
the
could.
fire department does have some plans for chemical type spills and information on that. So we could always ask Jeff Thomas to talk about that sometime at a meeting if you wanted to find out what their plans are.
Well, like I said, it's just the way it's worded, it's like, hazard, the ammonia spill, downtown, or something like that.
Okay. Thanks, Dale and Mark, for that explanation. So I do want to add also that Ameren, Illinois is tree trimming in town. I think they started yesterday, and if you've driven around town much, beware of their trucks. They are obviously taking up as much of the road as they can and still trying to leave it open, but they are big trucks and they do need to go out of a way to anchor the trucks so they can use their lifts. So it's probably best to try and avoid the trucks altogether if you can go a different route. So it is important work they're doing. So, and I believe there is an option if somebody wants wood chips from them. There's a number on the card they sent out that you can call to get wood chips. So. Okay, that concludes, my portion of the agenda. Did anyone have any questions for me?
You had one more thing on there about the village website.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you.
Mhm.
One of the things I want to do is bring up, and I've touched on this briefly before, we have some responsibilities that we need to assign as trustee and then some of them at the employee level. For instance, who has responsibility for sewers? A couple of us are working on it right now, but long-term, we need to say, just like water or just like streets, one of the trustees is gonna accept the sewer responsibilities. Same thing with IT work. We have a lot of IT work that's being done, but it doesn't really fall under any of the trustees right now. So I wanna see us think about it, and we don't have to decide tonight, but I would like to decide by next meeting where we wanna put water, IT responsibilities. We need to get some inventories done, we need to get network documentation done for IT. And our website, there's a ton of good information on our website, but there's also another ton of obsolete information on our website. And I don't know if anybody really has responsibility for what's out there. I know how we get it updated. We work with Sarah and Carol to get things added out there. But some of the stuff out there is a year and a half old, garage sales from last year. That doesn't need to be on our website. So I think we need a person and an area to be responsible for the website too.
Well, I'm wondering if we shouldn't have some sort of either part-time employee or contract employee for our IT. Somebody who actually knows internet and that stuff. Because it's like, I don't, I'll admit, I'm the type of person, I push a button, it goes. If it doesn't go, I call support. We need the support person,
So, and
or that's my opinion.
the person that we have now, Nicholas, is strictly comes when we need him, but we don't have Nicholas doing any of our web stuff. I'm not even sure he's capable of doing web stuff. So it might be a couple IT people. But as we talk with our budget, let's think about, do we want to hire somebody for 4 hours a week or 2 hours a week or a day a week?
Yeah, because we're small, but we have, our website and part of it's really good. And we have this really nice calendar that has nothing on it. People can't look 2 months in advance, say, oh, this is when the community garage sale is gonna be. Or this is when they're gonna be holding a benefit for somebody. It's blank.
Yes, and I know the wall games will be put out there starting in March and April, when the schedules are finalized. But I understand, if garage sales is an obvious thing we could have out there now,
Yeah, and it's, you know,
so.
so people could, you know, look at it and say, okay, we're gonna do this family event or whatever. My opinion.
Okay. Any other things that I missed? Okay, thank you. Now we're gonna move on to, Water and Public Property Superintendent Jeff Waller. Jeff, please, step up to the podium so everybody that's tuned in can hear you.
Parks have been pretty quiet. They're getting ready to ramp up in a hurry, I think, with this heat wave we're having next week. I've been getting plenty of calls about trying to book the fields and, so where we're at with that. We have, two Hudson community groups, the Lions Club and Hudson Havoc. They've both been put together and worked out their schedules with one another and with us. So those will be entered in, probably tomorrow or the next day. And then we'll look at the outside groups if we have any time left, to try to accommodate those people. I'm not sure we're gonna have much, other than maybe weekends. Denny and I and Tyler went down there and got all the brush picked up into the piles. We're kind of waiting to let it dry out a little bit to get the backhoe in there, to get them in the dump truck and get them out of there. But at least they're corralled in one spot. After that, I need to get the bathrooms open. They haven't been open for a year, so that's gonna take me a couple days. Get the fields prepped, get the net up, those types of things. So that's gonna keep me busy in that front. In water, I want to thank Carol and Sarah. We've been looking at numbers, and usually we look at profit side of water. We're having a loss problem in water. So every connection of water, you could have a loss, every connection off the service, every meter connection. That loss has been steadily growing over the years. So it could be an infrastructure kind of thing. It could be a metering kind of thing, which probably the metering thing's a little less than the infrastructure side of things. But the problem is that it's all underground. And so until it shows its ugly head to us, we can't fix it. Or it's hard to fix. So last Friday, we found one over on West Street, which was a service that was leaking. We fixed it on Friday. We also found another one at the library. Now this is like the third time we've been at the library. The history of the library is that it sits in an abandoned railroad track. Back in the day, coal cars come through there, derailed, threw a bunch of coal in the ground, and copper, so the service line is copper and sulfur do not mix. So what it does is eats holes in that copper line. So I think we've been there 3 times now. So today we went all the way back to the main, the 6-inch plastic main, put a plastic water line in there over to the library. So that road there has been dug up, and we put the new line in today and everything's fine. So we're gonna see where those 2 fixes gets us on our daily usage and see if we can't get that daily usage down a little bit. So we're calling it the water audit. And so we're gathering more information. And as the branches get picked up and everything slows down a little bit, then we'll start walking to town, start looking at all these pits in Old Town, making sure that we can't physically see any leakage out of it. If we do, we'll fix them. But that's where we gotta go. The more loss that we can recover, the better the bank account is in water. So it's something we have to do. Other than that, we got the branches to go. We got a place on Walnut where the tile fell in. So we got plenty of work.
Question.
Sure.
What, what's the maintenance schedule on the water?
What's that?
What's the maintenance schedule? Because my understanding is like the hydrants and things are supposed to all be tested every year.
Turn, flush?
Yeah.
Yes,
Are they,
yes,
okay,
yeah. Gate valves, so,
so
So
you're,
each-
every year they're doing,
yeah, yeah. And then every 5, I think the insurance people, so we have a community, insurance rating.
yeah, that Denny explained that.
Okay, so that's part of that too.
Okay,
Hydrant records on that too. So, yeah, and that's temporary help, helps a lot with those things, turning hydrants, turning gate valves, those types of things, so.
okay, I was wondering because I was thinking I don't run the streets. So it's like, I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
So I was curious.
It's usually when it's hot in the summertime.
Well, yeah, when it's dry,
Right.
water the grass.
That's,
Okay,
That's all.
anybody have any questions for Jeff?
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Next is street and zoning inspector Danny Engel.
The branches, as we, Sarah sent out, kind of been on hold with the snow that was going on during most of February. And we'd like to get back to picking them up. However, now where we dispose of the branches, we're gonna be fighting mud till it dries out a little bit. So we'll be getting back to that as soon as possible, but I'm not sure that that's necessarily gonna be in the next few days. So we will be doing that at some point. Like Jeff said, we have a tile sinkhole on Walnut Street that the plan is to try to work on that in the next day or two. The Julie should be completed. Last week I met with Patrick Meyer to help. We drove around and looked at the streets and to work on the MFT program. So he's starting to compile that information and should have that all like we normally do at our April meeting. So other than that, been helped Jeff the last couple days with the water issues, and hopefully the snow is done. So that's all I really have.
Do we have any questions for Danny? I have a comment for you and Jeff. Thanks for a great job getting down in the mud in February and early March. No picnic. I know it's cold, and I want to thank both you and Tyler for working on these things in less than ideal conditions. All right, next on the list, Village Marshal Dale Sparks.
And there's not a whole lot extra going on in the police department. I'm continuing to finalize this room, of course. Mark and I have met with in mitigation and reached out to the township. We've also worked on the budget. We started that going with coming up. And the new laws, we're researching and seeing where we're going with that. And as all police departments are right now, and there's going to be some training coming up for that later in April, not before our next board meeting, but we're going to attend that and with an attorney recommending how we deal with that. I know I've been following the Illinois State Chief of Police Association, and they're attacking that bill very, very, very strongly, trying to work it down and actually get an answer for everything. So they're going to make some changes, I believe, before it's over. Continuing to take calls as we do. Also, we're seeing, again, the frauds, people, the turning people in for unemployment when they're still working. We've just seen a lot of that. Amazon calls right now are starting to get big, where they'll call people and say, hey, you've been victimized. And we had a few victims in that area. So we're kind of watching that, taking reports and keeping up with that kind of stuff as well. I did have a question. I know we've mentioned it earlier. And again, it's not a town function. I told her that, but they're asking about the May garage sales. Again, it's not a town function. So I'm not sure how we want to address it as a board or if we even want to answer it. But they're asking whether or not it's going to happen. And I don't have an answer for it because, once again, it's a private thing. So whether we're going to restrict it because of COVID or if we're going to allow it to happen, or if we're going to take any action at all. So that's all I have.
I have a question.
My opinion is that the state requirements or state regulations have changed on how we battle COVID. And I don't think the village has a good reason to prevent it from happening this year. So, I think people should plan on moving ahead with it. We do recommend that everyone follows the state recommendations on social distancing and wearing masks. And, what does the board think? Does anybody want to add anything?
No.
So I guess if they call, just tell them we're not going to stop it this year. I think last year we did because of the stay-at-home order.
And we actually called the date to meet.
But we're not gonna stop it, but we ask people to follow the state requirements for wearing masks and social distance.
Sounds good?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there an estimate of what this extra training is gonna cost the village?
I'm sorry.
Is there an estimate of, and the extra cost for the training?
Oh, yeah, there's always costs.
Is there
And,
any idea?
you know, it would be attending class and meeting mandates. So again, it's still got to shake out and the entire state's looking at, see what it's actually going to cost.
Bill, could you hear Kathy's questions?
I think Phil was
But
waiting.
I don't think she had a mic on.
No.
Sorry. I was asking that if there was any kind of a cost estimate on the extra training and hoopla that the police department's gonna have to go through for this new state law.
Yeah, there'll be quite a bit of specified training requiring several hours in different categories. Mark, you have something to say?
Yes, there will be training. There are additional training requirements under the Criminal Justice Reform Bill. Now, one of the good things is that we do belong to the mobile team training unit. I'm sure they will be coordinating the training. And that is a consortium of all the law enforcement and agencies within McLean County. They all attend training there and they provide training, and we pay one fee per year for the officers to attend training. The cost is not going to necessarily be cost for the tuition for this. The cost to the village on this training is going to be more that you're going to have work hours, additional training, which takes the officer off the street. So now you're paying an officer to attend training, and either you make the decision that you don't have coverage on the street, or you hire back to backfill that position. That's where the real cost is going to come in for the actual training.
Okay. And we're, for some reason, my brain is saying we've been a member of this for an extended period.
Many years, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Did anybody else on the board have questions? Okay, thank you, Dale. Next on the agenda, Civil Defense Director Jeff Thomas. Did the sirens go off today?
Yes, it's here. Central did.
Down south, I heard it when we were up at the library.
Okay. Did they go off at different times?
Nope,
They went off at the same time.
sounded like all the same time, yeah.
Okay, good. I know it's March, tornado preparedness month, so it's a good thing the sirens all work. Okay, next on our agenda, reports of, citizens hearing. Sarah or Allison, do we have anybody that signed up?
Yes, one person, Tom,
Turn your mic on, please.
sorry, one person, Tom, and I can't read the last name.
Ryan.
Tom Ryan.
Tom, will you please come to the podium? Welcome.
Thank you. I just come down to give recognition to Denny and Jeff for all this crazy snow stuff we went through on the roads. And I also wanted to give it to Jeff Emmer, but he ain't here, and his crew for all the hard work they do on the road. I know Denny does my end, and I seen him, it was some crazy hours, I seen him out there a lot doing it, so appreciate it. That's all I wanted.
Tom, thank you very much. They have done an outstanding job this year. And, I know sometimes I wake up early and I look and the streets are already plowed and I go, what time did those guys start? So I know they're working really, really hard. They're doing a great job and our roads have been in great shape this year. So, Denny and Jeff, thank you. Thanks for coming, Tom, for sharing that. Okay, next on the agenda, reports of standing committees, finance, budget, contracts, and employees. Lynn?
I'll have more in April. I don't, it's not ready yet. I was hopeful, but not yet, so we'll readdress all of the garbage contract bid in April. Or possibly at one of our, budget meetings coming up in March.
Pat, I know you're working on the garbage side of things. That didn't sound right. On our garbage contracts, do you have any idea when you'll have something ready that we can address?
Yeah, it'll be later this week. And what I suggested to Lynn was when I have it ready, I'll share it with her and field any questions or directions on changes from her. And once she approves, I'll share it with the full board so that you guys have an opportunity in advance of your next meeting to review. We're working on call for bid specifications and the contract itself. So there's a few different moving parts to kind of get this queued up so it's ready to go out. But each of those deliverables will be ready this week.
Then will you work with Allison then to get it on our March 11th meeting agenda? We'll talk about it at our next meeting then. Thank you, Pat.
Lynn, I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you be the person that would be responsible for a village equipment inventory list?
Good question.
All right, that's something I'd like to bring up to the board then. I'll bring it up when it's my turn, I guess.
Okay, that kind of falls in line a little bit with, an IT inventory. It's one of those areas where we don't really have anyone assigned. It might fall under personnel or whatever. It might fall under public property, which would be, Jim's area. And so,
I'll go ahead and pick up the IT. If you want, I can pick up the IT.
You wanna do the inventory too?
Yeah, we'll just throw it under that.
Okay, yeah, because the village should have an inventory list of our tools and equipment, our machines. and-
We've done it.
Is there an inventory list?
Yeah. Sarah has to have one for the insurance purposes.
No, on like actual, ours is more on property, not, I don't think it's necessarily every tool we
Sure.
have in an
Well,
inventory.
sure it is, because we've got pictures of the welders, we've got pictures of the trucks, we've got pictures of the backhoe.
That was years
No,
ago.
I'm saying we've done it. I'm not saying it's up to date,
I'll go ahead and take it.
but we've done it.
We need something more current than that.
Yeah, no,
Like,
no, I agree.
are you talking like a spreadsheet or something, Kathy, is that the we have?
Yeah.
He volunteered.
No, it would
We
be-
can talk about it, I can show it, we
Yeah,
had
you're just
years
taking
ago.
inventory, since we're gonna be doing the IT stuff anyway.
Okay.
What we did
You
was,
guys.
took a picture of the product, whatever the tool was, or the welder, and then we wrote the description and the year, and then we put it in a folder together.
Okay.
And I think Sarah's right, it's been 4 or 5, maybe longer.
I think it's been, yeah.
We've done it. So if we can find that again, Sarah, then we can go back track and see what we still have and what we don't have. And
Yeah.
add and subtract.
Thank you.
That's on our side. I don't know where Dale's at with his side.
Well, there probably should be a master list, I would think.
I just know that we did it on our side. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's ever been done on this side.
Yeah, we do need that, and that's, one of the things we should have for insurance too, I would think. If we ever have a nasty storm go through and blow stuff away,
the pressure washer, we have a pressure washer, right?
Yeah.
That, we would have to replace that, tools and sawzall and stuff that's not expensive per se, but you get a dozen of them. Yeah, you got an insurance one.
Thank you, Kathy, and we're gonna add that under Jim's area there,
Volunteers, can you believe it?
so. All right, Jim, thanks for stepping up for that. Lynn, did you have anything else for us? Okay, next on the agenda is streets, Phil Morris.
Did you say Phil, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble here, and I hope we'll find a way that we can possibly turn up this volume to the people who are Zooming. But as far as a report tonight, I do not have one. There again, I just want to thank Denny and Jeff for February was kind of a tough month for plowing the snow and the ice. They did a great job. And also to keep out in front of the public, whether it be Dale, Sarah, Denny, whoever that puts it on social media, that the citizens need to know that we're going to get there to pick those branches up. And we've done a great job. But right now, even though the weather was nice, trying to get the trucks into where we put the branches and burn them up, that we can't quite get in there the way we want to. So I know the guys will be in there as soon as they're able to. So that's really all I have this evening.
Anyone have questions for Phil? Okay, Richard, can you hear okay?
Dave, I can hear you have a voice that stands out. I don't know if everybody else has their mics on when they're speaking, but there's times where I got my volume cranked up to 100% on my computer, and there's times where I can't hear, it's muffled. So I hope we can find a way to turn that up for the public or whoever's zooming in. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you can hear me okay. Is that right?
I have the same thing as Phil. Sometimes it is muffled and you can't hear real well.
Yeah, I mean, even between the two meetings, Dave, that I had my sound on, and there was a conversation going on, but it was muffled. You can't really hear and get decisive words. So maybe we can work on maybe being able to crank that volume up a little bit without blowing everybody out of the garage in there. So just something I'm seeing here tonight.
Gail, do you remember there was a suggestion as far as how close we should try and be to the mics?
I think a lot of it is we're not turning the mics on. People are talking without turning their mics on. But we have to be thoughtful of that, and if it's a problem, we can adjust individual mics. But you're correct. You're going to be probably 12 to 16 inches from your mic.
You don't, or do
You want to be 12 to 16 inches.
12 to 16?
Yes.
Okay, so mine might be too close then.
But you're being heard well, so.
Okay, I'll leave mine closer then.
Yeah.
And so we'll work on it, Phil. I'm glad you are providing us with that information so we know we got something to work on there. I don't know if anybody's streaming tonight. Sarah, can you tell if anybody's watching our stream?
Yeah, we have 2 watching.
Okay, if either of those would like to let Sarah know if they can hear okay, that would be good for us to know. I mean, this is new technology to us, and we are getting it figured out. We are trying to improve accessibility for all of our meetings, but we need feedback as to whether or not the public can hear everything okay on the screen. So either of our viewers that are watching through our live stream would like to let Sarah know how this is going, we'd appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda, ordinance and zoning, Kathy.
I really don't have anything this evening. I'm working with Denny on an annexation survey reporting thing. We'll be doing that on Friday. Like I said, right now, other than standard reading, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks, Kathy. Anybody questions for Kathy? Next, police department, Mark Patty.
Just again, I wanted to mention that one of the priorities that Dale and I will have is dealing with the criminal justice reform bill and how it will affect how we provide police services to the community. Most of it will be policy driven, so Dale and I will be rewriting policies and procedures on how we do certain activities as police officers and police department. Most of the bill does not financially impact the village, except for the body camera issue, and that will be a requirement for us in 2025. So we can start budgeting perhaps to purchase those now, to put a little aside every year. I'm sure there'll be grant money from the state. They generally do pass this, and then there's grant money to help with buying this type of equipment. But next meeting, Dale and I will have a document we'll send to everybody, all the board members and the mayor, that you can look at what the bill is covering and then how our response is kind of going to be toward that. And you can look at it, and if you have any questions, we can discuss it at the next meeting.
I thought there was something in the bill that small communities would need the body cams. We're big enough, we need them.
Yeah, we will need them, absolutely.
Do you have any idea what body cams normally cost? Because I was informed that a Provo does not count.
No, I will have to price those out, but like pieces of technology, when that first technology came out, it was very, very expensive. And now it's less expensive than it was 5 or 6 years ago. It has to have certain functionalities. So it's a limited market, a limited product. So yes, you're right. You can't just use something that you buy at Best Buy. That's just not going to work. So that's down the road a little bit, and I think the cost will come down, and there should be some grant money for that.
Yeah, if I may add, a big part of the body cams, they'll be working with your dash cams, and it's going to require a server to handle them. It's not just wearing a body cam. You've got to be able to download them, save them, store them. It's evidence, make them accessible to state attorney's office when they need it. There's a lot more than just a camera. So it's an infrastructure.
Just have read bits and pieces, I heard different things about the bill, and so I appreciate you two trying to recap how it's gonna impact policing in Hudson, so thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mark? Not, we'll move on to water department, Joe.
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Public property, Jim.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. It's about $800 for the body cam when you're talking infrastructure for each camera. And that's what you want to budget for right now. Now that could be a lot different, and like Mark said, I'm sure there'll be grants or maybe ways to purchase it through the state that'll be a lot cheaper. But that would be about it. Other than that, I already put my foot in my mouth by volunteering, so I guess I'm done for the night.
Okay, and you can work with Sarah and see what we've got in the past. That might be a good starting spot, so. Okay, did anybody have any questions for Joe or Jim? All right, to the best of my knowledge, we have no reason to go into closed session. Nothing on the agenda for closed session, so does anybody have anything else we need to address tonight? If not, we'll look to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Lynn Norris, Phil Morris.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on March 11th at our budget meeting.